This is your host, Bruce Hutchin, welcoming you to another informative episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast, episode number 338. Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous, and today we're going to be meeting with Keith Jackson. Now, Keith is going to talk about how his stepdad got him into the hunting tradition. Sometimes, folks, it isn't who gets you started, but that somebody took the time to get you started. Keith is also going to talk about building hunting relationships. It takes time, but those relationships become priceless. It's never too early to think about food plots. Whitetail Rendezvous has an ebook for you. Just simply text 33444 food plot to get your copy. Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. And folks, we're heading to Wisconsin, my old stomping grounds, and we're going to meet up with Keith Jackson. Keith is a pro staffer, team member of Whitetail Stalker. Hey, Keith, welcome to the show.
Hi, Bruce. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm excited what we're doing with Whitetail Stalker and the whole crew over there. But this is your show today, and we're going to talk about, right off the bat, one of your passionate things is introducing new people to the sport, both young and old. So let's start the show right off with that and explain what that all means.
Yeah, I just moved up to Wisconsin about a year and a half ago from Missouri. And back in Missouri, at one time I worked in a pro shop. And I have a background in law enforcement, but I ended up working in a pro shop for a friend of mine, Shannon Sitton, who's also a Whitetail Stalker. But I didn't know that I would fall in love with introducing people to the outdoors so much. Getting somebody set up on their first bow, helping a kid or even an adult that had never gotten into archery, they'd come in to the shop and be checking stuff out. And it was really getting them set up with the right stuff. I know we've all had bad experiences. At least I did. I should have started out in archery 10 years before I did. But I had a bad experience in a pro shop. Just one of those gruff guys behind the counter that every question I asked, he acted like I had no idea what I was talking about. I knew I had no idea what I was talking about, but I didn't like being treated that way. So getting somebody new into the sport and trying to find a passion with them, and doing that really became a huge passion for me. And I'd almost forgotten about it till a couple weeks ago. A friend of mine bought a new bow, and I was getting him set up in my basement. And I don't have a shop in my basement, unfortunately, but with all the tools and everything that I did have, I was able to get him lined out. And his third shot, he nailed the bullseye. I have 15 yards in my basement is all I have, but still, his third shot, he got the bull. Just 10-ringed it. And anyways, it's been really awesome. While I was in Missouri, I was a hunter education instructor for a while. I really enjoyed that, teaching kids. And, there was a lot more adults than I thought there would be in those classes, but teaching people gun safety and hunting safety. Crossing fences, crossing creeks, and how to do it safely and properly, and making sure that there's going to be resources for us to enjoy and for our kids and our grandkids and so on to enjoy for the future. And in that, I've kind of turned that into spending time with people. I've taken several people out hunting for their first time. I took a friend of mine that I'd known since grade school turkey hunting for the first time, and he killed his first bird. I was able to call that up for him, and just that whole experience. We've been friends since kindergarten, but we never had that connection. And when you're with somebody that harvests their first animal after all the hard work put into it, and that's a connection that we're always going to have. He's always going to remember his first turkey. He's always going to remember I was there with him. I'm never going to forget it. He's never going to forget it. And it's building relationships, building connections, and trying to keep this industry and the sport going with all the attacks that it's been under in the recent years. With that, I've turned on building those relationships. I've had a calling from God into youth ministry, and I'm working towards that. And I've been called to intermingle the two, and trying to get people into the outdoors and telling stories. Whenever you get a group of hunters together, what's the best thing to do is they want to tell hunting stories. And all of that is the same thing we do whenever you get a bunch of Christians together. We tell a bunch of stories, and it's fellowship. And the two just go hand in hand. You're creating memories, you're creating relationships, you're drawing closer to God. God created this beautiful world and these great outdoors for us to enjoy. And too many of us sit on the couch and try to watch it on TV or on the internet. I mean, there's nothing like sitting out in southeastern Wisconsin in 0 degrees with 20-mile-an-hour winds watching the sun come up. But,
I agree.
But doing that with somebody that's never done it before, maybe you want to pick a warmer day, but it's a relationship it's a connection that you're always going to have, and you're building friendships. You're trying to do everything you can to further the sport and greater the following that we have. I mean, it's not an obsession. It's not a hobby. I mean, it's a passion, and any true hunter is going to tell you the exact same thing. There's nothing like it, and there's less of us, it seems like, than there used to be when I grew up. When I grew up, everybody I knew hunted or fished, and now I've moved here in Wisconsin, and I'm new to the area still, but finding somebody that does the same kind of stuff I do has been a lot tougher than I thought it would be. I've got a couple friends now that do hunt and fish that I can go with, but it took a long time, and we need to do better at that. And
well, I'll just interject right now. Get a hold of John O'Brien. He owns Grandpa Ray Outdoors, and he lives in Madison. So he's on the way up, up north, as they say. So, give him a shout, and I'm going to make a note to refer you to John. Let me make a note of that, John O'Brien.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
So, you told me in the warm-up you headed up the Portage along the Wisconsin River, give or take a few miles. So why did you pick Portage area?
Well, I hunted in Walworth County all of last year. My in-laws have a little bit of land, and but they let me hunt on that. And then there's public land, Southern Kettle Moraine Forest here in part of Waukesha County, and there's other public land as well that's available to hunt. And I did plenty of that, but I just wanted something different to try to find a new place, a different place everywhere I went on public land. Seemed like I was bumping into somebody, and I'd never been to, which Portage still isn't the northern part of the state, but I'd never been that direction, and I like to explore, like to find new places, and looked around on the map, and around Portage there was quite a bit of public land in the area. I looked at Wisconsin DNR's website. I'm looking at their deer density estimates and different harvest totals and stuff for the different counties, and so I picked the Portage area. It was hour-and-a-half drive from my house, so I could get up early in the morning and drive straight there and hunt all day and come home at the end of the day, and that's what I did. Just hunted on some DNR land. I went up there. I left about 3 o'clock in the morning. I got up there around 4:30, 5 o'clock, and I'd never set foot on the land before, never seen the place before. Whenever I looked at it on the map, I actually had an idea to go due west of where I was parked. And I got about 50 yards into the woods, and just looking at it in person, I decided to go hang a right turn and go south. And it wasn't 5 minutes, and I jumped up 3 does. So I ended up hunting some little woodlots in between fields and different stuff. Saw a lot of deer that day, saw a lot of pheasants. I'd never seen a pheasant before, being from southern Missouri, so that was pretty cool. But beautiful area. Just the terrain. I found some hills. There's not a lot of hills in southern Wisconsin. I didn't really realize that all the years I've been visiting my in-laws in southern Wisconsin. But compared to southeastern Missouri, southeastern Wisconsin is pretty flat. So that was kind of nice to find some hills, and found a couple gravel roads too. I'm not from the city, so gravel roads and hills and hollers are my stomping ground. So it's kind of a total different area up here, but it is beautiful, just in a different way. Portage was really a gorgeous area.
Yeah, let's go back now. I think it's what's the road that goes straight off the interstate by the ski area, and then it goes right up north. Were you east of that highway or west?
I was on the eastern side.
Okay, go ahead.
I was north of Portage, just over the county line, and I can't for the life of me remember the name of the county. I think it starts with an M. It's just to the east of Adams County. I think. Is that it?
Monroe. Yeah, I think so. But how close to the river were you? The Wisconsin River.
Just a few miles. I drove past it around lunchtime, and we're going that far away from home. You'd think you'd remember. The one thing you'd remember was to pack a lunch, especially a guy my size, but I did not. So around lunchtime, I drove looking for a gas station or something to find a sandwich, and ended up passing over the Wisconsin River, and was right. I mean, it was just a few miles away.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so did you harvest a buck last fall with your gun or your rifle or your bow?
I did take one with my rifle. It was in Walworth County. My father-in-law got me permission to hunt some land, and I looked at it on the map, and like I said, another place I'd never been before. Excuse me. I drove around the night before trying to look at it in the dark, but that didn't work. But looked at it on the map and found a place that I wanted to go. And I talked to the landowner, and he told me the lay of the land as far as the areas that I could hunt, because there was some spots he didn't want me going into, and which was totally fine. He was, a really nice guy, especially letting a guy he'd never met hunt his land before. And anyways, I found a spot on the map. I got parked. I walked. The best thing about it was 200 yards from the road from where I was hunting. I was watching cars drive by all morning. But I sat there on the wood line, the edge of a wood line, and where agricultural field and the wood line met up, there was a pond about 30 yards into the wood line, and just the way the terrain laid out, it was a beautiful pinch point looking at it on the topo map. And if there were deer in there, they had to be coming through that area, coming out to feed or going into the wood line. And there was later found out that to the north side of the pond, there was a pretty good sized bedding area. And I didn't kill anything that morning or see anything that morning, but that afternoon I was sitting there maybe an hour before dark, and pulled out my grunt tube and made a couple, just nothing loud, just to see if anything was close that I hadn't seen. Made a couple grunts, a couple soft grunts, tending grunts, and not much sooner than I put my call back in my pocket, and here comes a buck coming down the wood line right on the edge of the field. And he's just, you could almost see him snarling. He was so mad. The hair on the back of his neck was standing up, and he was just looking for a fight. His head's up and down. He's looking and sniffing and just looking for whatever made that noise. And I tried getting it on camera, tried recording it, and I got my camera recording and had it set up. And I had time to get everything set up, but it still happened in just a matter of seconds. So I don't know how I didn't knock everything over doing it. But anyways, he's coming down, and I get my gun ready and get set up, and he comes to a spot to where I think he's on camera, because I'm more focused on him than I am the camera at this point. And he stops and turns, and he turns to his left and gives me a kind of quartering towards me shot. It wasn't the best shot in the world, but he was only 30 yards away, and I thought he was going to turn and run. I thought maybe he saw me or something, but he paused long enough for me to take a shot, and I luckily drilled him right in the right spot, and he jumped and ran towards me, and he crossed in front of me at about 5 yards, and then he ran about 20 yards past me and piled up dead. But he, reviewing the footage later on, he ended up stopping right before he got into frame a camera, and as soon as I shot, he jumped into the camera frame. So it ended up kind of not being good on that end, but he was a nice little 9-pointer. And got some great meat off of him. The deer up here are so delicious. Oh my gosh. Southeastern Missouri deer, a lot of acorns, not a whole lot of agricultural fields to eat on, not a corn or beans or anything like that. And man, that was one of the most delicious deer I've ever had. And it was really awesome. And it was also, I didn't realize it at the time, but it was the first harvest that I've had here in Wisconsin since I moved to Wisconsin. Last year I missed a turkey. I killed a sapling instead of a turkey this past spring. So I didn't get anything this past spring turkey hunting. This little 9-pointer was my first harvest in Wisconsin, so I was proud of that as well.
Hey, let's talk about how you got into hunting and where your hunting tradition is taking you.
Well, my stepdad came into my life when I was 3 years old, 3.5, give or take. And he's 70. He might hear this. I don't want to lie on him, but I think he's going to be 72 in June, and he still hunts he fishes almost every day that he can, but he still deer hunts every year. He still goes raccoon hunting all the time. We were always in rabbit hunting, squirrel hunting. We always had dogs. At one time, we probably had 10 or 15 dogs between rabbit dogs and coon dogs, and just started out doing that. The first time I was able to go in the woods with him, I had a little Red Ryder BB gun tagging along with him while we're going rabbit hunting, and I just thought I was the coolest thing in the world. And got to go with him, and he got a couple rabbits that, quote unquote, I got, and it was just really awesome. And that's evolved into, I was, back whenever I was younger, in Missouri, you couldn't deer hunt until you were 11 and taking the hunter safety class. And so I went with him for several years, just sitting in a stand waiting for a deer to come by, and never got to hold a gun or anything. I was just sitting in the stand with him, and I loved it and wanted to do it and wanted to be a part of it so much that even though I couldn't take anything, that I still wanted to be in the hunt. And that's another thing with hunting. I mean, it's not about the kill, it's about the trip, and it's about the stories and the experience. But my stepdad passed that passion on down to me, and I mean, as a teenager, I got kind of rebellious, as teenagers tend to do, and I got away from hunting for a few years. I was playing a lot of football and playing a lot of sports in high school, and so hunting kind of took a back door for a little while on that. And after I found out I wasn't going to be a professional football player or anything, I got back into it, and it's been just, I love it. I love everything about it. I love the preparation that goes into it. I mean, it's a year-round thing. I mean, it's shed season now, walking the trails with my kids and my dogs and my wife, and looking for sheds, for scouting for next season, looking to see for any kind of sign, just to try to plan that ambush for next year, see what we did wrong this year and see where I can improve on. And food plots, putting the hours in to get those things, to get your soil composition right and get the right plants in the right light, and depending on what you're doing, the area that you're in, the terrain. I love everything about it. I love the outdoors, and I'm thankful above anything else to my stepdad that he's passed that on to me, and that he got me into church at a young age and gave me that foundation as well.
Hey, how did people get a hold of you, Keith? If somebody wants to reach out to you and have a question. Yeah,
they can go to Facebook and search for Whitetail Stalker, or they can search for me individually as Keith Jackson, Whitetail Stalker, and you can contact me on there, private message me, email me on the Facebook on a private message, and just give me a shout and let's go hunting or something.
Yeah, I got another guy. He lives, about half an hour, 45 minutes east of Portage. Brian Sparks, and Nelson Creek is his company, and so okay. I'll send you him also, because he's a really neat guy.
Yeah, cool.
And I'll do that. So let's talk about how you get ready to go hunting, either archery hunting or rifle hunting, and what you do to prepare for the hunting season.
Well, this is where having an awesome wife comes into play, and I have the best. The way our house is laid out, I pretty much take over the kitchen. We have, when you come in from our garage, you can go downstairs to our basement, or you can go right into our kitchen. And I have a room in the basement that is like, that's where all my stuff is. It's my hunting room. But whenever the weekend comes along, I work Monday through Friday, pretty long hours sometimes. So late season, whenever the sun's going down pretty low, I don't get a chance to hunt Monday through Friday very often. So Friday night comes around, I have a really big plastic tote that's airtight that I keep all of my hunting clothes and boots and everything in. And it goes into we have a little breakfast nook area, whatever, but that's where all my stuff is. And Saturday morning, whenever I get up, I mean, it's all about scent control. For me, scent control is, we never worried about it whenever we were growing up. And I mean, I went one stint back in, oh my gosh, from probably 12 to 16 where I never saw a deer during deer season. And it might have been because I stunk a little bit. But nowadays, I mean, scent control is huge in hunting, and I take it pretty serious. Not as serious as some guys. I know they do a lot more than I do, buying $300 and $400 machines to strap on their back. I don't have that kind of money. So I have a pretty simple Walmart tote that's one of the nicer ones, but keeps the scent away, and I spray down. I have some scent wafers in my tote, and when I get dressed, get pretty much most of my stuff on. I leave my outer laying off, and I pack my tote into my vehicle before whenever I drive off, and then whenever I get to where I'm going to hunt is whenever I spray down with scent killer, and then I put on my outer layers and spray down again a little more, and then I go to wherever I'm going to be going, and either I don't mess around with animal scents or deer scents too much. I've lost accept them. I like to be more of a, I don't want the, I mean, I know it's impossible to be 100%, but I don't like the animal to know I'm there. I want it to be a complete surprise. I don't want them on alert or something, and then if I have to take a longer shot with my bow, that I don't want them to be on alert for anything. I want it to be a complete surprise for it to be the perfect opportunity. I want to miss an opportunity because all of a sudden they get something, and now they're on alert, and they jump my string or duck my arrow or something. So that's kind of how I get going. I mean, I carry a backpack full of stuff. I've got my calls, rattlebagger, rattling horn, and different stuff. Face paint. If I am hunting on the ground, I do a lot of ground hunting. I hunt a lot of public areas and a lot of places that I've never been before. I have a climbing tree stand, but I don't use it a whole lot. I like to hunt on the ground. I like the maneuverability that hunting on the ground provides.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And we're at the time of the show. It's unbelievable, but some 30 minutes have already gone by. So why don't you take a minute or two, give some shout outs to the crew at Whitetail Stalker and other sponsors that you have, and then we'll call it a show.
Yeah, I would like to definitely throw a huge thank you to Whitetail Stalker and Mike and Shelly Grandstaff. They've been amazing. I found out about Mike and Shelly probably a year and a half ago from Shannon Sitton, who's a good friend of mine, who's also he's the president of Whitetail Stalker now, and found out about them. I like what they stand for. I mean, God, family, Whitetails, and that's, I mean, what we are. I mean, we're all about God. We're all about the gospel and using every blessing that we have, that we're lucky enough to be bestowed upon, to use that to further God's glory. And that's what we're all about. Spending time with our family in the outdoors, in God's creation, and whitetails. I mean, it's delicious, it's fun, and it's a challenge. And that's, I mean, it's an amazing deal. Whitetail Stalker, the rest of the group, I mean, we call ourselves, I mean, brothers and sisters from another mother. I mean, we really are and have become a family since I've been a part of this, and it's really awesome, the relationships that we've built over the past few months and past couple of years. As far as our sponsors, or my sponsors, I mean, Treason Camouflage, man, I can't say enough about them. Tina Kane from Treason, she is just a superstar. My son, he really likes all my Treason stuff, and so I called Tina or messaged her on Facebook and asked about getting him a T-shirt for Christmas if they made anything for kids, and he's in a weird size right now, so an adult small will just about fit him. So I asked her for a T-shirt and for a beanie because he really likes their beanie. And she sent me, I mean, a box of just all kinds of stuff. I mean, bracelets and stickers and a beanie, a hat, a shirt, and pins. I mean, I don't even know what all. He was happy as heck. It was awesome. They're really awesome. They have a great camouflage. Their pattern is really awesome. I mean, you really, truly don't just blend in. You become part of your surroundings. Element Arrows, their carbon weave technology, they are one of, if not the most accurate and toughest arrow on the market. They're lights out awesome. Flying Arrow Archery, Toxic Broadhead, I mean, they have the Cyclone. I haven't used the Tom Bomb yet. I've shot the Cyclone just for testing. I haven't hunted with it, but the Toxic, I just love it. I mean, as long as you know how to tune your bow, it is a devastating broadhead. It's dead on accurate as long as your bow's tuned. Some people complain about different stuff. If you know how to tune a bow, you can shoot your Toxic Broadhead, and it is devastating. It rips and tears. The meatworm technology, I mean, it's destroying targets. It's destroying animals. It's just an awesome, tough broadhead. Jack's Mountain Custom Calls, they sent me a grunt tube, and I got it the day before I killed my buck this year, and literally 3 or 4 little tending grunts, and had a 9-pointer coming in, 3.5-year-old 9-pointer just come running right in, ticked off, ready to fight the world. And they make some beautiful, beautiful calls, and they sound amazing too. They make turkey calls, deer calls, several others. Check them out. And Seal One products, they make some awesome lubrication and protection items for your bow and for your guns. And they have several different packages they can send out to you, and they can take care of all of your weapons and keep them safe and properly functioning. They're really awesome as well. I mean, I can't say enough about my sponsors. I never thought I'd be blessed to have anybody to be okay with sponsoring me, but the ones that I have, I can wholeheartedly say that I support 150,000%. They make some amazing products, and I swear by them. And none of this stuff, I don't know if how many people really recognize it other than people that are in the industry, but none of this stuff was free. I mean, I paid for everything I have. We get some deals on stuff, but we spend some money too. It's not a bunch of free stuff, and I'm not just saying that they're awesome because I got a bunch of free stuff, because I did. I paid for this stuff, and I'm proud to support it.
Thanks, Keith. Go ahead.
No, so that's all I got for now, I think.
Well, Keith, it's just been a joy. I've just enjoyed sitting here and listening to a man who's passionate about his God, passionate about chasing whitetails, passionate about his family, and passionate about passing on the hunting tradition. And so, well done. And Keith, on behalf of thousands of listeners across North America, thank you for being a great guest on Whitetail Rendezvous.
Well, thank you, Bruce, and I hope I didn't ramble too much, but it's been an honor. Thank you.
On the next episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, we're going to have a special guest. Yes, Nick Albanese is going to be on the show. Nick is the founder and owner of Steady Form. Now, if you haven't used Steady Form, haven't heard about it, then take a look at Steady Form. Also, Nick's going to talk about his TV show, Tack Driver TV. Nick knows his stuff, and it's going to be a great show.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.